This episode of Brains on Games is all about crafty dragons. Welcome to Brains on Games. I'm Dr. Brian McDonald, and this episode we are going to talk about a game that's all about dragon crafters, a game where players are going to travel around a village visiting and enchanting different shops and collecting tons and tons of resources along the way as they build up their reputation. This is sort of a preview, but it is a game that's delivering now on crowdfunding, so it should be hitting retail very soon. And it's a game from Cardboard Alchemy called Flamecraft. Now, this is a game for between 1 and 5 players. You can play it with kids age 10 and up, and games play in about an hour. Let's take a deeper look at Flamecraft. This is the deluxe version of the game, and I couldn't resist showing you a little bit of the organizer with a couple of maybe extra silica gel packs that are packed in there. The cards are covered. They've got a little cover here to make sure that things don't slide around too much in the box, but you've got 2 separate packages of the resources, and you've got a spot for all of your cards for the game. You'll see the components as I start to demonstrate what's going on here. But one of the other things about the deluxe version of the game that's maybe a little bit different from the retail version is that the deluxe version has these miniature dragons, which are fantastic. So each player is going to choose one of these dragons in their player color. And if you don't have the deluxeified version, I mean, the dragon meeples look great too. You've got these screen printed meeples in the various player colors. In addition to the dragon meeple that each of the players is going to have, they also get a cheat sheet that tells them a little bit about the game, and things will be set up something like this. Now, you can't see the whole board, of course, but we're going to talk about the important things that are going on this board. You're going to have a number of shops that are going to open up through the game. And at the beginning, there are a few starter shops that are already there, but you've got a huge deck of these shops that will open up as these other starter shops fill up. So when you place a dragon in these spaces and there's no spaces left, you're going to next draw at random from the deck a new shop to fill an empty spot somewhere in the village. You're going to have an opportunity to draft dragons that can be played into these stores, and you're going to have a chance to enchant some of these stores. So what you're doing in this game, this is a light strategy game. It's perfect for those 10-year-olds. Younger kids, I think, could understand it as well, although they may not be skilled at the strategy. But it's a game that has this beautiful neoprene mat, gorgeous components, great big thick metal coins, that are even, they're shaded in some way. I don't know how they did this, but the coins are heavy and fantastic. So you've got this great table presence, but really it's a game where you're simply moving these dragons from shop to shop and taking advantage of the resources that are available at each one. You're trying to be the one who has the highest reputation at the end of the game. How do you get that reputation? Well, one way to do that is sometimes there might be some reputation spots here on the different shops, the more advanced shops that you go through. There may be ways to earn reputation. Often you're going to be earning reputation through enchanting the stores, which I will tell you more about. And you earn lots of points through these fancy dragons. These fancy dragons are cards that are going to be face down. They're things that you're going to have in front of you. And these are secret missions that are going to earn you some points. Now, some of them are end game points where you get bonuses for certain things. Some of them will come up through the course of the game, and then you'll flip them over once you've achieved the points, and then you'll earn whatever the bonus is. So you're earning points through those fancy dragon bonuses. You're earning lots of points often through the course of the game by enchanting these different stores, which, like I said, I'll tell you about. And what you're doing on your turn is you're most of the time, you're going to be moving your dragon to a particular store. One of the interesting strategic things about the game is that if there's already another player's dragon there, you have to pay each dragon a good or a coin in order to visit the same store as another dragon. Once you get to that store, you're going to be gathering from there. So any of these little icons in the top left, you get one of those resources. So as these little slots fill up with dragons, there's more and more resources that are going to be available to you. So for this Critical Role store with pan here at the bottom, I'm going to get 2 of these little pieces of bread with butter on them. What do you spend those things on? Well, you wind up spending them on enchantments. So you don't get any bonus for having leftover resources at the end of the game. Coins will give you some bonus points, but the resources, you're going to want to spend these on enchantments as you go through. So you'll visit a store, you'll gather resources. Like I said, in this case, you get a couple of pieces of bread. I can play a dragon from my hand. So over the course of the game, I'm going to be drafting dragons from the park here, these face-up ones, or drawing dragons from the deck. And all of the dragons with the same icon have the same ability, and they just have different names and different artwork. And the artwork is fantastic, and the cards have cute little names on them. This is Cinnabon, and the ability of each of the cards with the same icon is the same. And in the case of these guys with the little bread in the corner, you get to draw a dragon card. So I'm gathering the goods that are here. I have the option to place a dragon. Some of the stores have a store ability that I can also use, the more advanced one. So you might gain some coins for dragons. You might gain some reputation or some resources, or some other thing might happen. By placing this dragon here, I'm going to gain more resources. I'll get a coin for filling the space. I'll get a hunk of meat and another piece of bread. So I'm really piling up on the resources here. Then, once I've placed the dragon, I also have the option to use one of these dragon's abilities. They call it firing up. I can fire up one of the dragons, and in this case, either one of these dragons is going to allow me to draw another dragon from the deck or from the park. Now, you might decide that you don't want to gather from the shop that you visit. You might decide instead that you want to do an enchantment, and the enchantments have to match the store. So you've got some face-up enchantments here, and if you've got the resources to pay for them, you can cast that enchantment. So if I had 3 of those leaves and 2 leaves and 3 pieces of meat, I could cast this enchantment on the store because it does have the matching icon at the top. So the Fairy's Jubilee is going to give me 4 reputation points plus an extra dragon card. But now we also have an extra bread icon up here when the next player visits the store. So you're going to get 4 pieces of bread now next time you come in, and then you'll be able to either enchant again or place another dragon here. As I said, some of the other more advanced stores have extra abilities and powerful things that can happen when you play the game. In fact, in one case, I had a turn where I was going to earn some points from a fancy dragon if I had the same number of coins in front of me as there were slots that had coins on them. So you see there's a little picture of a coin here at the Critical Role store. I was going to say cinnamon buns. At the Critical Role store, there's a little coin. But at the time that I was going to play this card, there were 7 open coins on the table. So I had to earn some coins and cover up some of those coins by playing dragons there. So there was some strategy involved in doing that. Now, if I enchant the store, not only do I get those bonuses from the bottom of the enchantment card, I also have an opportunity to fire up all the dragons that are here at the store. So what we were doing in the games that we played, and I've only played it at a 3-player count, but in the games that we played, what we do is the enchantments, we sort of waited until later in the game. First of all, you need to earn lots of resources. Some of them, you're spending pairs of resources, and the more pairs you have, the more reputation points you're going to get. So you're going to be saving up to be able to cast those things and get the most benefit from them. But you also get more benefit if there are more dragons here in the store at the bottom, because you can fire them all up. I might get 3 dragon cards that I can draw instead of just 1, which is what I would get if I only fired up the single dragon. Now, it might seem sort of redundant to have kind of the same dragons at every store, but one of the dragon abilities, let me see if I can find I actually picked the right one. So the dragons that have the potion here at the top, these magical ones, have the ability to swap dragons from one store to another and then fire up that dragon as well. So if I use this dragon, I could pull another dragon in from another store, say Hot Dog. Maybe I'm going to swap this guy, and now the next time I come here, I'm going to get 3 pieces of bread and 1 hunk of meat and then I can place a dragon in the town if I choose to fire up Hot Dog instead of one of these other ones. So you wind up creating these big combinations of things, and there are a whole bunch of things happening, but each time, whether you're enchanting and spending those resources or you're visiting the store to gather more resources, you're getting a pile of stuff. So luckily there are two of these big containers with all of the resources, the anvils and the diamonds and the bread and the meat and the leaves. When my son's girlfriend is a vegan and she didn't want to take any of the meat abilities, but every once in a while she had to. She just didn't put it in her little container with all the other resources. So she didn't even want to visit the stores that had meat on the top. So her dragon was a vegan as well. Now you reach the end of the game in Flamecraft when you run out of dragons, when you flip over the last one, or when you run out of enchantments. And at that point, you're going to kind of finish the round, give everybody their turn, and then you're going to start counting up points. Now, like I said, with those fancy dragons, there are often bonus points that you'll get at the end of the round. Some of them have the little sun symbol at the top, and that means you're going to get those points during the game. Others have a moon, which this one, for example, Gemma is going to give you 1 reputation for every 2 diamond dragons that are in the town, plus 3 extra if there are more dragons than anything else. So you're going to be choosing dragons to play into town based on those the fancy dragon goals that you have, and then you're going to count up those points, and whoever has the most reputation at the end wins. So there's a lot going on in this game, and you can see not only is the artwork fantastic, but these components they are deluxe components. You've got these wooden pieces, you've got the fancy containers to hold them in, you've got a neoprene mat, you've got these big, heavy metal coins in the game as well. And that's my question for you this episode. This is clearly a deluxe game, but the retail version might have cardboard tokens, and you might have meeples instead of miniatures. Are you a player who prefers to go for these deluxeified versions? Or are you happy to play with standees or meeples instead of miniatures? Are you happy to have a fold-out board maybe instead of a neoprene mat? Do you care about having organizers in the box? Do you spring for those deluxe versions of games, or do you stick with the basic ones so that you can have additional games on your shelf for the same price? That's my question for you. You can answer that in the comment section below the video. But what skills are you developing when you play a game like Flamecraft, besides maybe an appreciation for fancy game pieces? Well, you are budgeting your coins, and you're trying to move around the board in order to maximize the efficiency of your turns. You're earning resources and spending resources to get the most benefit from these enchantments. You might be racing if you see another player is trying to save up those pairs of resources like I showed you earlier. If you know that they're going to be trying to get this enchantment, you might jump the gun a little bit and maybe spend 3 sets of 2 instead of waiting until you've got 4 sets. You won't get the total benefit, but at least you'll get that piece, that card before the other player gets it. Maybe you're going to block that shop that has the meat icon on it so that they have to pay one of those extra resources in order for them to come to that store. So there are lots of budgeting and planning actions that you're doing, and you really are carefully trying to manage the resources and trying to work efficiently through your turns. And whenever you're planning ahead and tackling things I've said this a billion times, when you're planning ahead, you're tackling things in an organized way, you're focused on your goal. Anytime you're working towards a goal like that, it is an example of an executive functioning skill. These are the behaviors you need. The executive functions are the things that you need to be able to do in order to work towards and achieve a goal. So you're figuring out the steps, and you're following the steps and carrying them out, and hopefully you're going to be the one who wins the game at the end. Honestly, though, even though you are practicing those skills, the components in this game and the artwork in this game are fun enough that you might just want to play anyway, just for fun, and not be too organized or efficient in the way that you do things. Let's talk about final thoughts here about Flamecraft. Well, I've said it a few times this episode. This is a beautiful game with beautiful components, with great artwork, with fun miniatures and fun meeples, and everything about it is well thought out. It's simple to explain and set up and play, but there's still strategy, and every turn, every action, you're earning piles and piles of stuff. I mean, now by the time I get to this store, look at all the things that you're going to earn if you visit the store to gather resources. So it is a game where you're constantly earning things. There's rewards for everything you do. We never found ourselves stuck for an action. Sometimes we'd have to look around to find a way to earn some cards. We might run out of the dragon cards that we wanted to play, so we'd have to visit a store that had the bread on it and everybody was following each other. But there's always opportunities to earn something, and there are opportunities for big combo actions where all kinds of things are happening, and that is a lot of fun. Everybody was like, whenever something like that happened, and people would gather around the table to watch us play this game just because it's so fancy, and it is a nice, sort of beautiful game to play. Light strategy, but still strategic, big combinations that keep it interesting and engaging. And it's something that our audience found fun to watch. There aren't really downsides that I can think of about this game, especially the deluxe version. The only thing I would say is this. You know, if you've watched enough episodes of this show, that I am not a guy who sleeves his cards. I do not like playing with card sleeves, but the cards in this game are a little thin and flimsy, and I kind of wish that when I backed it, I had also sprung for the package of card sleeves that are sized to fit exactly the cards that are here in this box, because I do feel like I missed out a little bit on having those sleeves, just because these cards don't feel like they're going to be as durable. They're not thick, they don't have a linen finish or anything, they're just sort of cardboard. And so this is a game that maybe if I had a chance to pick up an expansion, I would also spring for the card sleeves. Even though I don't like playing with those card sleeves, I would like these cards to last because they are beautiful and fun. And so Flamecraft is a game that we really enjoyed. It's sitting on the shelf waiting to be pulled out again because I have only played it at the 3-player count, and it's been with the same 3 players. So I do have some nieces and nephews who are going to want to try this thing out and are going to want to test out all of these resources. And everybody really, really liked these big, thick coins in this game. So I know a lot of people are still waiting for it to be delivered. If you didn't get a chance to jump in on the crowdfunding for this one, fingers crossed it's going to hit retail soon. We really enjoyed Flamecraft, and I'll put some more information about it in the show notes of the video. If you have questions or suggestions, you can leave them in the comments section of the video, or you can email me at brian@brainsongames.ca. brainsongames.ca is the website. That's where future episodes will go, and the previous ones are up there already. Brains on Games is the Twitter handle and the Facebook page and the Instagram feed, so we're all over the place. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to be notified of future ones, you can head on over to YouTube and click that subscribe button. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you next time.